Our biggest competition is really the auctions. So when we work with a fleet, if they've got 10 trailers, 15 trucks to sell, they're usually going to either wholesale the trucks and trailers to somebody like us. It may not be us. They may take it to the local new truck dealer. They may take it to another national wholesaler. There's a lot of different avenues, places they can go with it. But if they're going to wholesale, they're going to bring it to somebody like us or the local dealer, or they'll take it to an auction. And an auction has its pros and its cons. The big thing about an auction is it's a roll of the dice. You don't know what you're going to get for that truck. And if the auction's well attended and they've done a bunch of advertising and you get the right bidders there, sometimes you can get close to retail on your trucks at an auction. But the flip side of that is true as well. If for one reason or another that auction isn't advertised really well, or it's poorly attended, or the bidders for a truck that is spec'd like yours and has your kind of miles, those bidders just aren't there, sometimes you can get dramatically lower than wholesale value for the truck. So the thing about an auction is you don't know what you're going to get for that truck until the auction's over. And the other thing is there's a pretty lengthy time frame in running your truck through an auction and getting paid on it, depending on what the auction is and how quick it's happening. I mean, you've got to get everything inspected before it goes in the auction. If it's an on-site auction, you've got to get all your stuff transported there. If not, you've got to get it all, you've got to get the pictures taken, the video shot, got to get it up on the website. I mean, it's not unrealistic from the time you decide to put your equipment in an auction that you won't see payment for that for 120 to 46 months on that equipment. Whereas worst case snenario, I mean, when we tell people 5 to 10 business days, I mean, that's typically the longest we'll ever go on a sale, unless something's funny with the paperwork or we're having trouble with a bank releasing a lien or something like that. Well, there's two distinct markets really that we serve as we buy. So we target the small to medium-sized trucking companies, and when we say small to medium-sized, we consider that a trucking company that has more than 10 trucks and less than 200 trucks. But we also serve the owner-operator market. On the fleet side, if you're a trucking company and you've got a fleet maintenance manager, and a lot of times they've got a used equipment manager or they've got a VP of operations, they understand their options pretty well. That's their business, and what they get when they resell those trucks oftentimes is a real key component in how much profit they make that year. So those guys are well versed in here's what it's going to look like if I run my trucks through an auction. Here's what it's going to look like if I go to wholesale. If we try to retail these ourselves, this is the kind of money investment, time investment that's going to take. So that typically with those, it's more of just what their habit is or what their business practice is of how they dispose of their used equipment. On the owner-operator side, I would say no, an auction is not typically their first choice. And the reason for that is it's a lot more complex. You want to sell us a truck, you go online, you give us your year, make, model, miles, engine, transmission. We give you an offer, you accept it, we look at the truck, we wire you the money for it. If you're an owner-operator and you've got one truck and you want to sell that truck at a Ritchie Brothers auction, it's a much, much more involved process. You've got to reach out to an auction rep, you've got to have somebody from there come out and look at it. You may have to transport that truck to where the auction's at. You've got to get the pictures taken. You got to make sure that you're set up through their escrow company to get paid on the truck. It's a much more involved process. If the market's right and you're in the right auction and it's something where the demand's hot and the right bidders are there, sometimes you can get substantially more than you can wholesale value on your trucks. But there's a lot of uncertainty around it, and also the time frame doesn't lend itself well the first time. Guys that are trying to sell their truck for the first time, I think very rarely probably would you have an owner-operator that's never sold a truck before that wants to run that truck through an auction. It's usually for more experienced, asset managers, a VP of operations, a fleet owner that's been buying and selling trucks for years out of their fleet and understands and is okay with the uncertainty and the time frame involved in selling your stuff in an auction.